Welcome in, everyone. We are live at Tennis Point HQ here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Alex Gruskin, thrilled to be joined in person by probably the closest friend I made during the COVID pandemic. A man we have been so fortunate to have multiple times on our podcast. It is our friend from Tennis Point, Dave Limke. Dave, thank you for hosting us here at HQ. I have to say, when you walk into a store like this, you're just enveloped in, so much tennis surrounding you. You got to enjoy the environment if the sport's been a part of your life. With all of that said, a little buttering up. How are you doing, my friend? It's good to see you.
Great, man. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Glad to have you here in person, and you get to see all the updates we've done. I mean, this place looks a lot nicer than it used to. There's a lot of sprucing up, and getting all things tennis back out in front of people, and it's great to be seeing people face to face. That again, we got to know each other over the pandemic, and our customers are the same way. We're happy to have everybody back in person, so welcome.
Yeah, and unlike myself, you look much better in person, not via Zoom.
I don't know,
so
man.
That's the compliment to
know.
you. But again, so many fantastic products, so many different things we want to talk about here at Tennis Point. I am curious, just big picture. I know this is something we've discussed before, but in-store visits, certainly as mandates and requirements start to go down across the country, people will be doing more in-person things again in general. That said, what percentage of people still come into the store to try on their shoes, to check out the different rackets versus just saying, I'm going to order online?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a unique spot in Cincinnati. I mean, it's a family-owned business, been around since the 80s, so we've always provided that luxury, if you will, of people being able to come in, try things on physically in our showroom. But yeah, it's a good number. I mean, it's maybe not as high as it used to be because of the advent of the internet, but I think a lot of people still take pilgrimages to our showroom if they're coming north-south, traveling up 71, 75, and to stop in and be able to kind of kick the tires, if you will. You can come in and try things on. You can take demo rackets out. All these things you can do online as well, but there's something to be said for that kind of in-person experience. If you want to talk to someone, we're here 7 days a week to actually talk you through things and help you out. Obviously, you can do that online as well. You can do that over the phone. But, being able to kind of come into a physical environment, if you can't get to visit us out at the Western Southern Open, that's always a cool experience too every August, where we're actually physically able to interact with people. Yeah. It's a lost art. Everything's online and so digital and kind of faceless these days, but we really enjoy the engagement, the grassroots, talking to people face to face. So
again, with all of that said, and I want to talk about the various products, and we've got some of them on our table here. For those of you listening to this in podcast form, I highly implore you go check out the video of this conversation on YouTube as we get the chance to display all these fantastic items we are talking about. I want to get to the tennis side momentarily, but walking in the door, and you can ask super producer Daniel Westhoff, who walked in with me, the very first thing I said is, oh my goodness, there's a complete pickleball section. There's no denying it. The intersection between pickleball and tennis players is real. The overlap is real. And I feel like any tennis store across the country, any sort of company or whatever that wants to present itself as a distributor of tennis goods, as whatever it may be, whatever the proper nomenclature is, you have to address pickleball, right? Like there's just an undeniable overlap.
No, it's out there. There's tons of people that got into it, especially during the pandemic. Yes. It was something to get out. You could set it up in your driveway if you wanted to. It's very accessible. I think for a tennis player, there's a natural ability kind of built in already where you've got some of that hand-eye coordination, and tennis players have seemed to take into it. There's a little bit of a rift here and there, it seems, that we hear about, but we don't necessarily see that because we're a tennis retailer. We've been in the tennis world for a long time, and most of the people that we talk to are like, yeah, it's great. It's a lot of fun. Again, it's very accessible. You can have a really great tennis player, a not so great tennis player, and pickleball kind of evens things out, so it makes it really fun and social. I think there's some things that tennis could learn from pickleball in terms of how social it is, how fun it is, how accessible it is, and we embrace it with open arms. And then again, a lot of the stuff, there are some crossovers. A lot of the footwear that's always been around for tennis that we do really well with you can wear that for pickleball. So there's some natural crossover in the product assortment that made it very easy for us to start getting into this several years ago, and then we've just kind of built that up over the years. So can't deny it, though. It's here to stay. So.
I will always be suspicious of someone who goes on the pickleball court without, with basketball shoes, without tennis shoes. I agree with you. And, of course, you talk about getting excited. The moment I think any tennis player walks – well, I'll speak for myself. When I walk into a tennis shop, just right away, all of it's sensory overload. I feel like a dog when you're just like looking around. You're like, oh, what's this? Oh, what's this? Oh, what's that? And certainly you walk into Tennis Point HQ here. You guys have every brand, everything you're looking for. You look at, from the big ones, obviously the Wilsons, the Heads of the world, the Babolats from a racket perspective all the way through. Nikes, Adidas, K-Swiss, Asics, you name it, you guys have it.
Right.
I want to talk about some of the products you guys have available on display. And in particular, I know there are some things exclusive to Tennis Point that cannot be found anywhere else. We have some of them on the table right now. Talk to me first and foremost about the Wilson Clash, and it's not just the beautiful Dexter Blood Red racket. We've also got the shoes as well. It's the complete package. This is a nice look, Dave.
So just to be clear, too, the shoes, the exclusive thing, the Clash V2 is – that's one of Wilson's biggest sellers, so everybody's got that, but we were able to work with them in 21 to plan.
As Michael Jordan says, it's got to be the shoes.
Got to be the shoes. It's a great shoe. It's a Rush Pro 3.0 to be technical about it, but this is a kind of a heritage model for them, and we had an opportunity in 2021 to plan this with them, and we knew the new Clash was coming out for this year, released about a month and a half ago, and then the shoe hooks with it. We've got the little Clash kind of triangle call out on the back there. So just a really great shoe, great colorway, no-brainer to pull the trigger on doing something like this. And where it's unique to us in this colorway, that just makes it more special. Obviously, it's in our interest to make sure everybody knows about it. So work in progress, hoping that they come in stock sometime in May. But that's the nature of the beast right now. Supply chain's a little disrupted, so things sometimes get a little bit delayed. But it's a great complement to the Clash version 2, which, again, was updated for this year, one of the top 10 selling rackets in the marketplace, just super versatile, super easy on the arm, easy to play with. A lot of players really like this from when it first came out in 2019. So this is kind of the update to that. And, yeah, if you want to kind of represent head to toe, you can kind of do that now that we've got a shoe that kind of hooks along with it. There's bags as well. So, but yeah, just really been a great offering for us. It's a great story to tell for 2022. And again, so many players can use it. There's 100, there's a 98, there's a light version, there's an oversized version. So there's kind of something in there for everybody. So it's a really nice update.
I was going to say, in front of us we have the 100. And I looked at it, I thought, okay, this feels like a bigger frame, but this is one of multiple versions you have here.
It is, and it's there's subtle variations. You go look at them on the wall and they all kind of look the same, but one of the cool things they've done with the 100, because it's the top seller, they've embossed Clash in the side of the frame.
So that is special, right?
Little details like that. Yeah, it's kind of cool. It just kind of elevates it a little bit. The kind of anodized red look is something they're going to with all their racket silos now. So, it's just very visually striking. You called it the Dexter, kind of a morbid reference, I guess.
Sure.
But yeah, I'll give you that. The blood red, it definitely grabs your attention when you see it on the wall.
Yeah, no, I was going to say you use this racket, then you go audition for Blade 4, the new movie. You take Wesley Snipes' place. But
sure.
No, I mean, again, in terms of because the Clash is a relatively new series, correct, for Wilson?
It's their newest silo of rackets, kind of family of rackets. Yeah, it came out in 2019.
The green one is its cousin, right?
The Blade, so the Blade is the more kind of player-focused, thinner beam, heavier static weights, where the Clash is kind of a jack of all trades, Jill of all trades, to not be sexist. Works for a lot of different players. Very flexible, but yet it's very stable. So it's kind of a paradox in a lot of ways, but the proof is in playing with it and seeing what you think. And we've got 3 years of data on it and how it's sold. People really do seem to like it. So it's solid.
If you are someone who's playing weekly, daily, you're training, you're a junior, you're trying to play tournaments, go to the high school level, go to the collegiate level, I think you might go something more specific than this. Now, I think if you're a casual player, someone who's getting into it later in life, you're playing once, twice a week, this feels to me like the sort of racket you would go to.
Very well could be. And that's not a market that we want to deny. I mean, the entry level, the beginning player, the pandemic brought a lot of those types of players into our customer base that we want to keep them in that tennis journey, keep them playing, keep them not just doing it because they're locked down, but because they really they discovered it and now they enjoy it, and we want to help them elevate their game and maybe get them to the next level of performance. So something like that would certainly let you do that. But yeah, probably not somebody just starting out would use that, because the price point probably more than anything.
Maybe a little bit might turn them off.
Yeah.
Not with Tennis Point, though, because of course you get the best prices in the business.
Correct.
By going to tennis-point.com. You can also come in store here if you are in the Cincinnati area. I'll tell you what, I think I might have to drive here for all my tennis needs moving forward. Indianapolis isn't that far to where it's not worth I can come hang out for the day. Although you're going to put a sign on the door, be like, no more Gruskin.
Right.
After I do that too frequently. That said, let's move on to our next product here. And I mean, again, a Babolat is a Babolat. It looks like a Babolat. It plays like a Babolat. This is the newest edition of the Aero. I suppose they slightly updated the hue of orange on the inner ring.
Cosmetic.
Yeah, exactly. So is it a cosmetic update more than anything else?
It's a cosmetic, yeah. So the Pure Aero, this is obviously Rafa's racket. You know, you got him in the header card there. He's their the poster child for Babolat, I think, for good reason.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Pure Aeros, the aerodynamic beam shape, spin, for a spin player, very versatile. Again, works for a lot of different player types. And then the way they freshen it up, because the racket's in the line for 2-3 years, cosmetic. So Rafa switched to this cosmetic sometime last year, and then they made it broadly available to the public. And it's hard, as we're in the Euro Clay season and heading into the French Open, to not talk about Rafa's racket. I mean, it didn't just come out, but it's one of our top sellers still, continues to be. The color update has been really well received. People really love this racket. Again, it works for so many different player types. You don't have to play like Rafa, but you know, with so many players hitting with heavy topspin, it fits the modern game really well. That's what Nate uses. That'll hop here in a second. I've used it myself over the years because I'm getting old and I need a little bigger sweet spot and need a little more help on off-center hits, which tend to happen more often now than I'd like to. But it's very forgiving, very easy to have a good idea of where your shot's going to end up when you hit it. And again, if you hit spin, the aerodynamic beam really lends itself well to that type of game.
Yeah, I don't think, to your point about the cosmetic, the Babolat Pure Aero, and I think it's played pretty similarly for the past, 2 to 3, maybe even 4 paint jobs.
Kind of hard to mess with it. It's like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they don't. So
and there's a reason it's one of the best sellers. Now, I had a Rafa theory I'd like to just bring by you, because obviously we've got the French Open coming up. The most disappointing thing for me about him winning the Australian Open is that I don't get to present this theory moving forward, but we'll put that aside for now today. I was convinced he was not going to win another Grand Slam title until he shaved his head, until he embraced being bald. He had to go bald Michael Jordan on us to win another major. Now, he wins in Australia this year, so I suppose that theory is kaput. But maybe not, right? Maybe not. Maybe we say, shaved head Rafa, that's the final form.
He could go Agassi do-rag. He could always start to pull the head tie up just slightly, but
he could pull it off.
Whatever he's doing is working well for him still. I mean, I think he has to recover a little more between events now, and a little dinged up right now, but I just you cannot deny watching him play that he's going to give it everything until the very last point.
Yeah,
so
all I'm saying is up top there's a little Fosbury flop that he's doing just to make sure one of the sides isn't
Nice.
Completely given up. With that said, again, some of the other products I want to run you through, because I know you have to go, and we got to bring Nate Dogg in as well to talk about some of the latest and greatest apparel-wise. I think apparel is the thing that has changed the most for me. It always goes in phases, right? In my, you go back to 2008 to 2012, there was that athletic DNA phase, right, where a bunch of kids, a bunch of products started wearing that, and they made a big push into the tennis market.
Because they gave it away.
Yeah, well, your words, not mine. But yes, I would agree with that. Everyone had the package, right? Which is what they referred to it at the time. There are new ones across the board, and I think Fila is a big one, which you see, of course, so many of the young Americans wearing. I think K-Swiss is another one you see breaking in. Talk to me again about these new apparel lines and them making a push into tennis.
Yeah, I mean, those are kind of heritage brands. They've been around tennis for a long time. I'd say K-Swiss, more than anybody in the last several years, has really come on strong on the footwear front. And apparel was they were kind of trying to figure that out. They kind of ebbed and flowed with it a little bit. And they've been working with some new designers and really hit 2022 hard with new apparel collections for men and women. They've got some tour players wearing things. See Cam Norrie out on court in it. And so you're starting to see a little tour presence with it. And I think people have always known the shoes have been great products over the years, and now the apparel, I think, has been elevated to be in that same conversation. Hopefully it's a consideration for people now that it is part of their menu. It's not just a footwear company.
Yeah.
That being said, some of the footwear they make is like in the top 10 selling models across the whole tennis specialty universe. Hypercourt Express, I think anybody that plays tennis at all, this is the number one shoe in the tennis industry for most brands. It's our top seller within K-Swiss. Just fits a lot of players. It actually has a little wider toe box in it, which a lot of people like. They'll do basic colorways. They'll do super fast colorways. This is obviously one of the faster, more aggressive looking colors. This is an update for 2022,
Okay.
but I think just the broad appeal that it has. And then if you're that heavy duty player, somebody who really beats on the shoe, wears through them, what you're going to see on the tour players is the Ultra Shot. So the Ultra Shot follows some of the same design cues, color schemes, things of that nature, but then it's got a 6-month outsole guarantee, more durable, a little more stable, meant for that really heavy-duty player that really beats on the shoe. So, and then they've got other models kind of within the line that kind of step these things down, but these are kind of the two big hitters within their line. These are men's colors, women's colors as well. Again, they'll go aggressive on the women's side, but they make the same line for men and women. Just vary the colors a little bit, but it just works well for a lot of people, and they're definitely a brand that's, I'd say, on the rise, but I mean, they've been on the rise for several years, and they just continue to be on the rise. And then we can kind of show you some of the apparel as well that we've got displayed through the store. But just we're glad they're back in the apparel market, because it's great to have another apparel line with name recognition that people can really latch on to.
Is there a comp for K-Swiss that they would feel most similar to? Are they, you know, again, is it all, I mean, because they're all somewhat similar, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think where they've really latched on to a lot of people is that fit. The toe box is a little more generous.
That's what I see here. Is that
it's a little bit boxier, I guess, but and then they actually make it in a wide width. So I mean, they even make one that's wider than this, but it just seems to fit a lot of people. Not everybody's the 6'2", 160 pound, tour player, fit model like yourself, like I used to be 20 years ago. And if you need a little more room in the toe box, I think that's where that shoe's really got them a great following. The Ultra Shot tends to be a little more of the modern fit. It's probably not quite as boxy, not quite as wide, but they've got the gamut of fits within the line. So it kind of stands alone, and I think a lot of companies are playing catch up to them in terms of that fit type. So I'd say Fila's in that same realm. They've been on tour for a while. They sponsor some of the events. They're the official on-court apparel at the Western Southern Open here in Cincinnati. So we're very familiar with Fila. They've not taken a step back on the apparel or footwear front for years. I mean, we've been doing a strong business with them for many, many years. So, and that continues for this year as well. So
absolutely. And with that said, then my final question for you: talk to me about Penguin.
So, talking about brands that are kind of making a comeback within the tennis realm. I mean, the old original Penguin, and it's actually a performance fabrication.
No relation to the Batman.
No relation to the Batman. Okay. It's kind of its own like heritage lifestyle brand that's been around for years. But I always remember Dad growing up. Had the shirt, the polo shirt with the pocket on it. It had the little penguin stitched on there. It's the same design, but what they're doing now is performance fabrication. So these are actually shirts you can play in, sweat in. They perform. They hold up well. They're breathable. They're definitely not the polo shirt from back in the day. But yeah, just kind of the throwback to that heritage logo that maybe people recognize. Maybe they don't. Maybe it's new to you, but just kind of a cool lifestyle angle, but it's performance as well, and it's one that we're kind of new in the last year with, but it's been really cool to kind of bring back some of these brands. I've got a Less as well, kind of in that same mix where kind of a heritage brand now making a push back into the performance side of things. So yeah, it's cool to have these things kind of coming back and just getting people excited about tennis, and tennis is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So
no, we need the Converse shoes to match them, right? And then we're really rocking and rolling.
Yeah, I don't know if I see that happening. I mean, they still do the Jack Purcell and kind of that Stan Smith kind of vibe, but it's like those are things that, again, that tennis lifestyle I think is still out there, but in terms of like performance, probably best leaving those things on the sideline for the night out. But no, this is all stuff that you can play in. Most of what we carry from an apparel standpoint is performance oriented.
Gotcha.
You can play in it, sweat in it. beat it up, and it'll come back for more. So
yeah, no, that's what I love to hear. Well, as always, Dave, pleasure to get the chance to speak with you. Very grateful that you had us here
Great to have you.
Tennis Point HQ, and yeah, hopefully we didn't annoy you too much.
Not at all. Let's do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you Western Southern at the latest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.